Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel, and I'm here with the lovely Natalie Newman, and who we met in Abridge a little while ago, who's written books about fish.
That's right, we wrote our eco-friendly books about Lark the shark and his adventures about keeping our oceans clean. And our first book, Lark the shark, is all about Lark and about his character being judged about being very scary and mean, and we wanted to change the image of what great white sharks have the bad negative stigma around them, and we wanted to change that, and also about cleaning up our seas, making children aware about water pollution.
Which I think is really important because we don't want plastic in the ocean, do we?
That's right, plastic not only destroys our fish and our oceans, but we are also digesting it by the fish that we eat, so it is a very sad state of affairs.
So what inspired you to write books about sharks?
In 2019, Henry got given homework about what pollution meant to him, and he knew nothing about water pollution because in 2019 it wasn't being taught. So I said to Henry, well, why don't we do your homework about water pollution? You had to write a short paragraph of what it meant to him. And he knew nothing about it, so with him next to me, we went onto YouTube, and he was shocked. All the plastic swimming along on the ocean, animals eating it, thinking it's food, and also getting stuck in it, sadly dying. And he said, Mummy, what can we do to help? And that's when we came up with our friendly shark Lark that was going to keep our oceans clean.
And how old is Henry?
Henry is now 11, and he was 7 when we wrote our first book.
Oh, that's so inspiring as a young little boy. So inspiring to do something about the environment and the seas and the fish and animals. And I'm very passionate about animals and about everything from a fish. I must admit I'm scared of spiders, but anything that's got 4 legs or swims or anything, I'm very passionate about. As little Henry is, bless him. He's now 11.
Yeah, 11. Yeah, and our second book is also about our next character, Wanda the whale, and about so about Lark the shark still keeping our oceans clean, but it's also about friendship, kindness, and being different, being inclusive.
Well, that's a really important thing because we try to teach children to be respectful to others at all time. And I've also spoken about this, and it's lovely that little boy he's 11 now.
Yeah.
That he's doing such a nice thing like that.
That's right, and he's inspiring the next generation about all the problems that are out there. It's very easy for us to live where we live and not see the water pollution for what it is, but in many countries they can't even get into the water because there is so much plastic and waste there.
When I've seen the programme in Cornwall, and I remember there's a group of children, probably Henry's age, and they were going out collecting plastic bottles and all sorts of things, and it just shows how much rubbish. Don't chuck your bottles in the sea and crisp bags after you've been on the beach during the summer season.
That's right.
And I think it's so important. I think it's so wonderful that I've actually seen your book,
Lark
the shark. I think it was amazing.
Thank you.
So, obviously being a boy, has he got shark toys? Did he have shark toys when he was younger?
Yes, that's what inspired us, because we are a shark-loving house in our house. So when we thought of who's going to keep our oceans clean, straight away we thought of the great white shark, because we've always loved sharks. They get such a bad reputation, and all they are doing is swimming in their habitat. And unfortunately they mistake us for food, and that's what happens, and it's not something that they go out to find us, to eat us, which unfortunately Jaws played a big part, the movie Jaws, in making people scared about great white sharks. But that's all turning around now since Steven Spielberg regrets doing it. So it's a good positive book to inspire children.
Can I ask you a question? Would you swim in a tank for sharks?
I would.
You would do that?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
You brave soul.
Yeah, I would. If they were as friendly as Lark, I'd do it.
Well, that's nothing. And also, have you got a fish tank in your house?
I haven't got a fish tank in my house.
Why
no.
not? Because I think you should get one for Henry, then you could name all your fish after the characters that you write in your book.
Yeah, do you know what? The only thing that put me off about the fish tank was that I remember once I was at a fair. You remember when you used to win a
goldfish?
Yeah, and you used to win a goldfish from doing picking up the ducks.
I remember that, yeah.
And it died after 2 days, and I was so upset that I thought, do you know what? I wouldn't want my children, my boys, to be that upset and I have to explain to them where it's gone.
Do you know what? A really funny thing. My partner went to a fun fair, and he thought it was in fact a goldfish. Well, this goldfish turned out to be a koi carp, and it grew so big. I can see your face looking at me, and they had to put it in a pond because it made lots of little Cyclops
Yes.
in the end, which is quite funny. But I think it's inspiring. Now, you go to lots of different schools and you read the books to children. What's the reaction from the children when you read the books? Are they understanding about the environment?
Yeah, that's right. So I go in and I read our books in interactive sessions, in yearly assemblies, and I read our book and then I open the floor up to questions from the children, and they get it. They get what water pollution is about, and they get why sharks are given such a bad name when really we should respect them for the fish that they are. Their questions are amazing, and they are inspired, and also inspired to be an author.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
lots
good
of
thing.
children want to write stories.
And I think it's good for children to be creative, because a lot of children today, it's all the computer games, everything, and you know, sometimes you want them to be creative. And I'm a very creative person. I've never been an academic. I can remember a lot of things, but I'm not academic, so I've always been creative. So if you can find a little niche, I say this to a lot of kids, and I suppose you do as well, starting your own business, if you've got an idea that's creative, go for it. So if these children can take a message from your books, maybe they're going to send the message to somebody else and to somebody else, and maybe about the environment as well. Like, I know a lot of people are just in climate as well, the clean air and all the rest of it. You know, do children say to you things like, oh, do you drive a car? Would you rather walk than drive a car? So kids say that to you, like the older children, obviously not the little ones.
The older children actually speak to me about what it takes for the environment to be clean.
Wow.
And they also talk about when they come out of school, that they see a lot of litter on the street, and it's now making them aware that that's where the litter goes. It's very easy to think someone else is going to pick your rubbish up, but it all starts from somewhere, and we all have to be responsible for what we do.
And I think you know what my pet hate is, when people just chuck rubbish out of the car.
Yes.
And I just think, oh God. But when you're in the seaside and you see things in the sea, it really upsets me, because this poor little fishy, especially Lark the shark, he might come in contact with a plastic bag or a bottle, and you think, oh, poor little Lark the shark. When I'm frightened of big fish, and this is not, I mean, I've been abroad and I've seen big turtles, and I was a bit nervous, and I wouldn't put my hand near a shark or a big fish because I'm a bit nervous. I used to be really scared of dogs, but of sharks, I think I don't know about going in a tank with a shark. You must have a lot of guts, especially to write a lovely book about it. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, we wanted to show children that anyone can be an author.
Brilliant,
we can
yeah.
all inspire other generations to not only write a story, but also to think about the important topics like water pollution and shark conservation. Because if we don't change, then the world won't change, and that is something that we wanted to get our message across in our book.
I think that's absolutely incredible, because I think fish, you see a shark, and I think Jaws did it, and a lot of people say, look, when you've got the little shark fin on top of your car, that got a bit of automatically, the shark on your sat nav became a shark fin.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, oh, it's like a shark driving down the road. But really, I suppose it's like any animal, if you approach it in the right way. I mean, I'm not saying I put my hand in a tank and give it a steak, because it might bite my hand off. I don't know, but that is... Would your son like to go feed sharks?
Yeah, he'd absolutely love to. He'd love to go free diving.
It's in Australia,
Definitely.
isn't it? You can do that, I think.
Yeah, you can do it in Australia and the Maldives and any Asian, any part of Asia. But what people have to remember is that sharks only really come up to humans because they associate us with food. A lot of people do bait fishing, and a lot of people do dives where they will encourage sharks to come by putting dead fish and chum, which is blood of a fish, in the ocean. And so when they see us, they sometimes associate us not by wanting to eat us, by what we're going to give them. And that is part and parcel of the tourist trade, because unfortunately that's what happens. They encourage the sharks to come to them, they draw them in by putting blood in the sea.
Oh, well, one of my friends took his little girl to a big aquarium in Los Angeles. And I saw the video of it, and this shark came forward, and I thought, my God, the size of its teeth. That would really freak me out. But on your book, it looks really friendly, and it looks a happy shark.
That's right.
It doesn't look scary.
That's right, and that's one of the things that I say to the children when I read to them, is that our shark Lark, we wanted to make him a happy image. We didn't want them to be scared of him. And I always say, doesn't Lark look happy? And they always say, yeah, he looks like a happy, friendly shark. So that's one of our messages that is really successful and getting across in our book.
Would you ever write about any other animals like spiders or slugs or snails?
Yeah, I would. Do you know what? We want to. We've wrote 6 more stories about Lark the shark, so we're hoping to have a nice series of Lark with other creatures and other fish and other mammals, him helping them and them helping him, to show that we can all be different, but we can all help each other. So that was one of the main messages in our book, as well as looking after our environment and our world. And my little son Leo, I'm hoping to inspire him. Leo's 7 now, so inspire him, and maybe he'll think of a creature or an animal that he'd like to write about. So I'm definitely open up to the idea of writing more stories.
Because you could write a story about Ollie the octopus,
Or Sally the spider.
Sally the spider. I'm petrified of spiders. But I think you're absolutely fantastic. And your second book, when's that going to be due out?
So it's already out.
Is it already out?
Yeah, so it was published in December.
Wow.
Yeah, last year. And I'm reading that. I'm going back to schools that I've already read to and reading to them. And we've been featured in lots of magazines. And
what magazines have you been featured on?
So we've been featured in the Jewish Chronicles, the Jewish News, lots of things online, the Shark Trust.
The Shark Trust? Yeah, tell us about the Shark Trust.
So the Shark Trust looks after globally what is going on with the sharks, and also Shark Guardian as well. They have put a lot of work in to make sure that the fin trade is being banned in America. Which is what they've done. They went and they protested and they got signatures and it's gone through.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's another good thing about what's going on in the world, because if we stop people finning sharks and we stop it being being able to be sold, then people will stop selling it if there's no money in it.
It's absolutely. I'm very much into saving animals, but that's for another interview. But I think you're absolutely amazing,
Thank
incredible.
you.
And during COVID, did you inspire you to write more stories, or to continue what you were doing? Because obviously we had a lot of time on our hands.
Yes.
Most people were eating and drinking, but obviously you writing and
I was writing, telling my kids to do their homework.
Normal things that people would do.
And we, before COVID, we were telling our children, enough iPad time, don't do it. And then suddenly everything was online, So I did sit down with Henry, and as soon as we had an idea, we wrote it down, and we wrote our stories. And
wow.
It was really, spare of the moment, and we were in the mood to do it. And if you enjoy something, it comes natural to you.
That's a really good thing, because when I started my business, about 10 years ago, I just had an idea in my head, and I thought, you know what, I'm really creative. I started to dress Christmas trees, which is a good thing, and I went round and I started doing it in people's houses and even churches.
Amazing.
And then I got into London, and then obviously COVID hit. But I think that if you've got an idea, go for it. And what you're doing is incredible, to help children understand environment, and also to be creative, and to maybe be the future authors. I'm not saying they're going to write War and Peace, but they could write all sorts of things, endless animals. I mean, I'm saying you could write about lots of different things. And would you write about families that've got animals and stuff like that? Like you could do like a little family of, I don't know, and then have make it into like maybe a series, if you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And you could have little Lark the shark and Ollie the octopus and
right, yeah.
Georgie the crab or whatever. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'd definitely be open to the idea of writing more stories. Once all our series is out, Lark the shark, I'll speak to Henry and Leo and see where we go from there.
Also, the big little question: are you going to do merch?
Yes, we are, yes. And we're hoping to also get in touch with production companies, because we'd love to see Lark on the big screen.
That is tricky, let me tell you that. It's very tricky to do that. And would you have, what sort of things? You're going to have t-shirts, sweatshirts,
pyjamas, water bottles,
bed linen, little
bags.
sharks. You can have little sharks that you could put on your keyring.
Yes, we're going for all of those. But
well done,
yeah,
you.
so we're going to try and stay away from the plastic side of it, because
obviously
that's our eco-friendly books. But I definitely would like to do pyjamas and anything clothing-wise for children.
Do you know that you can have recycled clothes out of plastic bottles, and
Yes.
also recycled materials? My dad's actually got a recycled jumper.
Oh wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I thought, how do you make clothes out of recycled materials? But it's better to do that than chuck it in the sea and in the oceans. And I really hate it, and you're going to agree with me. Don't put your rubbish on the floor, put it in the bin.
That's right, yeah. Especially at beaches.
Beaches,
it really
definitely.
upsets us that we go to local beaches, English beaches, and we see so much rubbish there. And people get up and they leave it there because they have no responsibility, and they don't even care really for where it's going to end up. And that ends up in the sea.
Yeah,
that ends up in animals' mouths. They think it's food, they smell it. They don't realise that it's not food, they just smell it and associate it with food.
So we're going to see you on TV feeding sharks soon.
Hope so. Yeah, definitely. Would love to swim with sharks.
You would swim with sharks?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Wow, you brave person. You wouldn't be nervous, not even a
No.
tiny bit. You would go into the water.
As long as there is no chumming or no fishing going on nearby, and it's a controlled environment.
Yeah, exactly what I was
Yeah,
going to say.
I'd definitely be. I'd definitely be up for the idea.
So where are
of
you
doing
reading
that.
your next book? Tell us where you're reading your next book.
So our next book I'm reading next week at Selwyn Primary School in Hymes Park, and that is an academy school. So I've already read for the other schools in the academy, and they've asked me to come down and read for them. So that would be our Lark the Shark, our first book.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And as we say, mazel tov to you.
Thank you very much.
And Natalie,
yeah.
thank you so much for your time today. It's been lovely speaking to you, and hopefully we'll speak again.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very
Thank
welcome,
you.
and take care, and bye-bye for now.
Bye.